day 3 of the FIZZ Female Financial Empowerment. For those of you all that I have yet to meet, my name is Blaine Ashley, and I'm the founder of the FIZZ Female and New York Champagne Week. This is our debut event of the year, and I am so thrilled we're able to offer this complimentary event series to you all, thanks to the ladies of Barnum Financial Group, Christina Lawrence and Dawn Robinson. To forge a connection between the FIZZ Female and the financial world, we asked 3 amazing women in wine that have ascended in their career to speak every single day. This evening, we are so pleased and thrilled to have Annette Alvarez-Peters with us. And someone asked yesterday if I was reading from a teleprompter, and I have not the whole time, but I am going to be reading you Annette's bio today because it's chock full of impressive, just so many impressive things. And I just can't commit it to memory, and I would be remiss to try and to miss something. So Annette's the founder of AP Consulting, and it focuses on the wine and spirits industry. And Annette started this business in July 2020. Annette also serves in advisory and mentorship roles for Wine Unify and Women of the Vine and Spirits. Annette retired from Costco Wholesale, the dominant membership warehouse club operator, after nearly 37 years of service. She held various roles within the company and spent the last 25 years in the beverage alcohol department, culminating in the role of Assistant Vice President and General Merchandise Manager. Annette has extensive managerial and merchandising experience in the wine and spirits business. She has led a team in the United States with a global sales volume of approximately $4.8 billion. During her tenure, I can never say that word, Annette developed a wine and spirits items for the successful private label Kirkland Signature. We all know that one. In addition, she was a quarterly contributor to the in-house publication, The Costco Connection. My dad has a full-on crush on Annette because he loves Costco. So he's like, The Costco Connection, Kirkland Signature. She's recognized globally as a top leader in the industry from notable publications such as M. Shanken Communications Market Watch, Wine Business Monthly, Decanter, and Wine Enthusiast. She holds a diploma certification from the Wine and Spirits Education Trust and is a certified wine educator from Society of Wine Educators. Annette was inducted into the Ordre de Coteau de Champagne in 2017 as Madame Officer de Coteau de Champagne, and was nominated by the Taittinger family, Pierre Emmanuel and Clovis Taittinger. Hence the inspiration behind Annette's champagne selection to toast the topic du jour of today, or that's what that means, topic du jour, following her welcoming words, Taittinger brut le français. So, yay! So Annette has a lot to say, and I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over. Cheers, Annette.
Cheers. Thank you, Blaine. Along with Christina and Dawn, I'm happy to be here. Again, my name's Annette Alvarez-Peters. Thank you for having me this afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at. I've been asked to chat a little about what's next. And I'll start with a quote, and I think it was from Dawn: "Life is never a straight line." Isn't that the truth, right? My financial wellness story begins in my late 20s. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was spending it like I did. I was going through a little bit of a rough time. I was separated, which ended up following with a divorce. My company was going through a merger. I needed to decide whether I was going to relocate from California to Washington State. I had zero money in my savings account. I accumulated about $15,000 in debt from my marriage. And mind you, the average median household back in 1993 was about $33,000. So yay for me for being half of that in debt, not a good thing. Here's the thing. I was a buyer. I mean, I knew how to plan and hit budgets, but for some reason, I didn't feel it was necessary to do that in my personal life. So of course, not ideal by any means. But what I really needed to do was figure out how to get the hell out of debt. So my first step was to assess the total damage and really just get it together. I ended up putting together a spreadsheet and a monthly plan on how I was going to pay off each of those cards. I paid the minimum on every card except for the one with the lowest balance. And then I paid as much as I could until that got to zero. So I had probably about 10 different credit cards. I had Visas and MasterCards, clothing stores, department stores. So I had quite a bit, and I also needed to limit unnecessary spending. And of course, that's never fun for anybody, but I do know that had to happen. So I just kept at it, and it took me a couple of years, but I finally got myself out of debt. And then for my savings account, once I finally got out of debt, I looked at my company 401k. And at that time, I was contributing about 3%. And I decided I really probably should step that up and contribute the max contribution, which was 15%. In the whole scheme of things, it really wasn't a huge difference in my take-home pay. So what did I learn from being in debt? That I needed to live within my means. I really didn't need more than 3 credit cards, like ever. I made a promise to myself I would pay off the balance in full every month. And if I couldn't pay off the balance, I just knew I couldn't afford it. I also knew I needed to start saving some money. So fast forward into my late 30s, maybe early 40s. And as Dawn has said for the last 2 days, it's about time and savings and how you're going to get to your number to retire. So whether you're in your 30s or whether you're in your 40s, you'll get there. So although hiring a financial advisor really didn't come till later for me, it really was the best decision I made to get guidance and how to save for the future. And I remember there was a time I was in my 40s, I had a couple of girlfriends, they were in their 50s, and they were retiring from Costco. And I asked them, how are you able to retire in your 50s? And I remember her comment was, because I have a good finance person. And so, of course, I immediately got the name of her guy and made an appointment. And I signed up, started putting my money to work. But of course, my dumb luck would have it. The guy retired after a couple of years. And I just let my money sit there. So then it was probably in my late 40s. I was in a meeting. I met this guy randomly. And he happened to be from the same firm of where my money was at. So I asked him if he could recommend anyone. And he said, of course, me. I said, oh, okay. So my husband and I went to the company and we interviewed them and we agreed to let them handle our account. So I really do consider myself quite lucky to have been able to put my money to work and have the ability to have retired at 58 years old. So of course, the big question was, what's next? What do you do after you retire? Which I did in January 2020. And I'm a worker. I've always been, ever since I was a little girl. I remember babysitting since I was in the 3rd grade. I always wanted money. So I did know I wanted to do something. That said, I promised myself I was not going to do anything for at least 6 months. And then I would look at a side hustle business and whatever that looked like. I just knew I wanted to do something. So after 6 months in July, I just started giving a few people advice on an hourly basis. I ended up updating my LinkedIn account, which I never really used, so it was pretty lame. And that was because I was never really looking for a job. And I got various hits from consulting groups requesting my help for one-on-one consults. And so that was all okay. But I think what I really needed to do, I really need to figure out what is it that I wanted and what did I see myself doing and what value was I going to bring somebody. So, oh, and the other thing was who do I really want to work with? So I decided I would take on a few clients total because it is a side hustle and it is part-time. I do want to be retired. So I would work with people that I like. And most importantly for me, it needed to be fun. So I took on a few roles also for nonprofit boards. And really that was to pay it forward because I think that's really important. I really believe in that. I had a lot of help coming up in this industry. So I do want to give back my time. So my nonprofit organizations that I'm working with, they're not paid positions. I'm with Wine Unified in an advisory role and a mentor role. That's about welcoming and amplifying BIPOC. And I'm also part of Women of the Vine and Spirits, which are promoting women. And then if I have a little bit of time left, then I do things for like Blaine.
Thank you.
Has been a learning curve starting a business. I knew I needed help because I'd never done this before. I was calling friends with businesses, and I was also using my network of peeps that I've met over the years and asking basic questions like, where do I find X? And how do I do X? Things like, where do I find a simple invoice for billing? And oh, wait, I have to follow up if they didn't pay me? What? I never had to do these things. But hey, you know what? You don't know what you don't know. And I needed a simple contract to sign up clients. Who could help me here? My nephew happens to be an attorney, so I reached out for him to see if he could help me put together a contract. You know, how much do I charge? What am I worth? How do I determine this? I had to ask a friend who retired on how they figured it out, and then I was able to set my rate. So all of that is good, but how do you set up an actual business? You know, should I be a sole proprietor? Do I need to be an S Corp? What's an EIN number? Where do I get that? What type of bank account do I need? I ended up having to ask all of my friends who have set up their own companies for help because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. You know, on finding clients. Luckily, I was in a position where I had a pretty huge network from Costco and the people that I know. I remember when I was working, I would advise suppliers on how to develop items, on telling them what they should be doing, guidance on their packaging, market strategy. And I remember telling them, I'm giving you all this information for free, but one day, you're going to have to pay me $1 million for my advice. So here we are today. It's my next chapter. I'm in a good financial position where I have the ability for my side hustle, and I also have a lot of free time that I get to enjoy with my husband. So real quick onto the bubbly. I'm probably close to being out of time. I chose this house simply because the family is amazing. I think one bit of confusion is how to pronounce the family name. Is it Tettinger or is it Tettinger? It's Tettinger. The house was founded in 1734. The Tettinger family, they were merchants in the 1800s. And in 1932, Pierre Tettinger purchased the chateau from Forest Bourneau, where they already had Chardonnay and Pinot Noir planted. From 1945 to 1960, his third son, Francois, ran the business up until his death, followed by his brother, Claude, who directed the company in 1960 to 2005. And by now, Tet & J had become a world-renowned brand. Sadly, in 2005, the family was faced with mounting taxes, and the 38 heirs had to sell the family business. But there were family members that did express hopes that they would like to purchase it back. So lucky for all of us, in May of 2006, Pierre's son, Pierre Emmanuel Tet & J, and a French bank, they ended up purchasing the company back.
That's awesome.
So I just think that's a cool little story. So today we have Tet & J's La Francais Brew. So if you have it, yay, or you have something else. It's a blend of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. It comes from 35 different villages. It's about 40% Chardonnay, and it's aged on lees for 4 years. But before I wrap this up, I do want to give a huge shout out to Blaine, who is always supporting and celebrating women on the rise and in every aspect. Also to Pierre Emmanuel's daughter, Vitaly Tet & J, who was promoted to president of the House in 2019. So please join me in raising your glass of Tet & J if you have it. And what I'll do is I'll leave you with a message that was on Tet & J's holiday card this year. What if this year begins with once upon a time? May your story be written like our bubbles, light and swirling, and may you be enchanted by their magic. Here's to your financial wellness.
Oh, I love